Iowa Caucus goers, however, experienced a major tech malfunction last night after a mobile app that was supposed to tally the votes struggled to transmit the results.
Let me begin by stating that I have a strong feeling that at some point the results will be announced.
Joining us from Austin, Texas, to discuss what happened there is more about all of this is Maria Svart. She is the Democratic Socialist National Director. Good to have you here. And I thought, honestly, we would be talking about a Bernie Sanders victory at this point, but we're still waiting for the results. What message does this send, do you think, to people who support, say, Bernie Sanders, that we don't have the tally yet?
Yeah, I think what happened last night in Iowa was that young people, working class people of color, immigrants came out for Bernie Sanders in massive numbers, and yet there was chaos. And whatever the source of that, whether it was incompetence or shenanigans, we have lost the narrative of the beauty that is the Sanders campaign and the mass movement behind Bernie Sanders that believes in these democratic socialist ideas that he's been promoting and understands what's at stake in this election.
Well, I mean, I think the Iowa caucus, there's not a lot of beauty there, to be honest, in the eyes of many people, because even if you don't always see this kind of thing, it tends to be messy. So does the whole process regain its footing, as our political reporter Rick Newman was pointing out, when things move to New Hampshire? I mean, many of the candidates are already on their way there. It's a much more straightforward voting process. Do things get back on track?
Well, it's true. The issue with the Iowa caucus is that if you work on irregular hours, or you have kids, or you just don't have time to spend hours at a caucus site, it is difficult to participate. I think there's something nice about getting together with people in your community and having to talk through the issues and why you support who you support. But this year they did set up satellite caucuses, which were specifically designed so that people that couldn't make it to the typical caucuses in the evening could participate. And that's actually one of the first stories coming out was about workers from a pork processing plant that went to a satellite caucus, I think it was at noon, at a union hall. And they're Ethiopian immigrants, Latina immigrants. I don't know where they were from originally. And I think it was 14 out of the 15 people that came to that satellite caucus were for Bernie Sanders. And it really showcased the multiracial working class movement that Bernie has built. And I do believe that story and that momentum will continue, even if in New Hampshire, you just have to go and show up and vote, and it doesn't take hours.
Hey, Dan Howley here. You kind of touched on the controversy going on, saying that there might have been shenanigans. Do you really believe something like that happened? It seems from the reporting that this app that was being used just wasn't tested or used long enough for it to fully be released at this kind of level. Does that really support the idea that there was something more nefarious going on?
I'm not saying that something nefarious happened. The reality is the Democratic Party very often rewards loyalty instead of competence. So it's entirely likely that that's what happened in this case. But there are questions that people have, and I think it's legitimate. Look, Mike Bloomberg has not taken any donations, no small dollar donations the way Bernie has. And he just had the debate rules changed so that he'll be able to get on the debate stage without any donations. That, to me, is an example of a billionaire buying his way into the election. And that is the kind of thing that makes people question the process. But again, Bernie Sanders is someone who's been fighting for working people his entire career. We trust him. We know he's on our side. And he has built a movement because he knows that he can't do it alone. And that's why we trust that no matter what happens along the way, we are going to win.
Maria, I am curious, as I was watching one of the echo chambers last night, it seemed that people 50 and over were sitting with Biden or more centrists, and people 30 and younger were sitting with Bernie Sanders and with Elizabeth Warren. Let's get past New Hampshire. Everyone keeps talking about Super Tuesday being the real decider. What do you think when they say that?
Well, young people are with Bernie Sanders because they have everything at stake. I would argue that folks my parents' age have a lot at stake. I mean, Trump is talking about cutting Social Security, and Bernie does very well against Trump. Other Democrats, like Biden, have talked about cutting Social Security. Bernie Sanders has fought over and over throughout his career to protect Social Security. But young people come out for Bernie because we are on path to go over a climate cliff. And the mainstream Democrats continue being unwilling to hold the fossil fuel industry responsible. They're the ones that caused this crisis. They're the ones that need to make a massive investment in jobs and healthcare so that we can be prepared for this global catastrophe that's coming our way. So of course, young people are going for Bernie Sanders. And I think, again, if you look across the country, the polls may vary by state, but you have more and more unions coming out for Bernie. You have the Sunrise Movement and the Dream Defenders coming out for Bernie. There's a whole movement of working class, multiracial organizations that are coming out for Bernie.
Right.
And yes, this caucus in Iowa and all of the chaos last night has changed the narrative from that momentum. But we still believe that we can keep fighting. And the beauty is that this movement knows that Bernie can't do it alone. So people are ready to turn out for Bernie.
All right. Well, when we get some numbers, we'll see what they say. Maria Svaret, thank you so much. Democratic Socialist National Director.
Hey, investors. Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.